Hi there everyone, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a continuation of one of my later videos that I did maybe in September, October, where I talked about some really amazing audiobooks. And so today I thought that I would share 5 more with y'all, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to talk about today is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. And there is one narrator for this audiobook, and her name is Nicola Barber. And if you did not know what this book is about, I believe it is set in the early 1900s because that's when Jack the Ripper was a thing, right? I think so. But basically we follow our main character named Audrey Rose, and she is very much into forensic sciences in the dead people department. She would love to follow in her uncle's footsteps of figuring out what happened to someone, how did they die, basically examining dead bodies. But because she is a woman in this time period, it is very, very difficult for her to acquire that job because women in that time period don't do that. But this story basically follows Audrey Rose as she tries to discover who Jack the Ripper is, since there has been many deaths around the area where she lives, and this is the time period where Jack the Ripper was at his height. This book kept me guessing, kept me questioning, and the narration is absolutely fantastic. The narrator has this accent, and it just makes everything better because you get the sense of, oh, I'm in England, I'm where Jack the Ripper was. Like, she is very authentic in that way. But I don't have this book in my Audible collection because when I find an audiobook on YouTube, it's free, so I found it on YouTube. But sadly, it's not there anymore. It was on YouTube when the book first came out in 2016. Unfortunately, I don't have the actual audiobook with me. But she is an amazing voice actor, and I totally recommend this audiobook if you're looking into reading this book. Next, I have Master of Crows by Grace Draven, and this book is told from third person, but each chapter revolves around either main character. There are 2 main characters, the love interests. And there is only one voice actor for both characters, and his name is Jay Britton. He does an amazing job of basically telling the 2 points of view from a woman and a man. It is a fantasy romance novel. All of Grace Draven's books are, I believe, fantasy romance novels, and they're absolutely fantastic. You should check her out. She's an amazing writer. But basically we have this mage wizard, and he's all powerful, but he has kind of been cast out of society because he is labeled as the Master of Crows. I can't really tell you why, because of spoilers, but his name is the Master of Crows and basically lives out of society. But these people who basically casted him out want to spy on him because they think he's gonna retaliate against their form of government. It's not like our form of government because it is a fantasy novel, but kind of like their form of government or their church of state. And so the main basically priest, I don't know what to call him. He's kind of like a priest. Like, religious figures are kind of like very powerful mages in this land. So one of the very powerful ones has a slave, and he sends her to the Master of Crows' land to basically spy on him, but he doesn't know it. He just thinks that he is gaining an apprentice to teach magic to. And so it's them butting heads and everything, and there's angst and there's love, and there is mature content, so if you're not into that, don't read this book. But the narrator does an amazing job telling the points of views from both a woman and a man. I think his best performance, though, was for the man who is the Master of Crows. He just has this throaty, raw voice that really, like, I don't know, encaptures the character, and I really appreciated that. And the next audiobook is The Edge of Never by J.A. Radmirsky. And this is narrated, again, by one narrator, and her name is Lauren Fortgang. And this is told in first person, and it switches off chapters, one being from the female of the story and one being from the male of the story. This is a romance novel, but she did a really good job talking from the male's point of view. I really thought she did an amazing job at it, because I don't know how I would be able to speak in a man's voice authentically for a book recording. I don't know how I could do that. I couldn't talk like a man. I would just embarrass myself. This is a romance novel, and we follow our main character Cameron, who has basically had some troubles in her past, so she decides to get away and basically hop on a bus, a Greyhound bus, and see where life takes her. And on that bus she meets a dashing man named Andrew, and it's basically their story trying to work together to figure out what's going on in their lives, to help them maybe with their struggles and help each other with their past, and maybe even grow to love each other. I loved this book. It has the road trip element and it has the lovely coupley time that I love. And this narrator was just awesome, conveying the emotions of both of these characters. Next, I have The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, but more specifically the whole entire Raven Cycle Quartet, which I listened all to on audiobook. I listened to all 4 of them in a row, I believe, over the summer of 2017, and this is narrated by Will Patton. And this book is told in third person point of view, and it follows many different characters' point of views. They may not be a main character, they may even be a side character, but for every single character that there is, Will Patton does an amazing job at speaking their voice, no matter what gender, no matter what role they have. He does an amazing job at that. But if you don't know what the Raven Cycle Quartet is, it's basically about this group of teenagers who are on a quest to find something, but more specifically our main character, 2 main characters. There are a bunch of main characters, but I think the 2 main ones. His name is Gansey, and then there is Blue Sergeant. Blue Sergeant has grown up in a family of psychics. Her mother is psychic, but Blue herself is not one. She's just basically kind of a psychic's battery. She does not have psychic abilities, but she amplifies other psychics' abilities when she's in the room. And so I love that psychic element. I love books that have psychics in them. I think they're interesting, so that put like another level of me loving this book series. But this audiobook is really fantastic for all 4 books. Will Patton narrates for all 4 of them, and I'm in love with them. I love them a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book and totally recommend the audiobooks if you're looking forward to that. He has kind of a really cool voice that is kind of like whimsical at the same time, so it sets the scene for the whimsical setting of this book, because there is a lot of magic and whimsical elements in these novels, so he sets the scene perfectly for that. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today is actually my current read right now. I'm reading 3 books at the moment, but this is the one I'm listening to when I walk to class, which takes kind of a long time. So I have been listening to One of Us is Lying by Karen M. Menkes. And this is told in first person from 4 different main characters, and the narrators are Kim, my guest, MacLeod Andrews, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, I'm sorry, Shannon Menkes, and Robbie Damon. So I actually haven't finished this book yet. I'm about halfway through the audiobook right now, but I'm really enjoying it. Basically, this book kind of is like a spin-off of The Breakfast Club kind of, but with a murder aspect. Basically, these 4 teenagers are sent to detention along with another student, and then the other student, who isn't one of our 4 main characters, ends up dead that night, and they have to deal with the consequences of basically being in the room with them and people accusing them of murder and trying to figure out who the murderer is or what happened. And I'm really enjoying it because I have no idea who the murderer is right now. I'm halfway through. I couldn't tell you who the murderer is, but we have like romantic aspects in this book. We also have that mystery element of not knowing who the killer is. We have that theatrical aspect of whodunit, and and yeah, so far it's really enjoyable. All the narrators are really cool. The first one, Kim, my guest, I realized right when I heard her voice, I was like, I've heard this voice before. Who is it? She's actually a narrator for one of my other favorite audiobooks from These Broken Stars trilogy. She is the narrator of the woman in the 3rd book. I can't think of the name of the book right now, but she is the narrator for that one. So I knew I recognized her. She has a very distinguishable voice. I think all of these actors do. They are really phenomenal so far, and I can't wait to see what happens for the rest of the novel. So there you have it. Those are 5 more awesome audiobooks that I really, really enjoyed. I believe you could find all of these on Audible if you're into Audible, and there's some, I think, even on YouTube that you could just listen to for free. Let me know down below in the comments if you have listened to any of these audiobooks or if you plan to. And also let me know down below what your favorite audiobook is. I would love to know and maybe check it out for myself. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon with a new video. Bye!